is going on. We are looking at a Train 16-seer heat pump. And 4TWX60. Just going to check everything out, make sure it's operating okay. Pretty sure it's the weather that we had about 2 weeks ago. She just got her light bill and said it was up $50 from what it was the previous month. But we want to take a look at this thing and see what it's doing. She just had nice lady, she's been a customer of ours for years. We put this unit in about 5 years ago. And she just had hip replacement surgery. So, told her we'd come out and take a look at it. We did the maintenance on it back in December, early December, first week of December. And everything was fine then. She does have a media filter under the house. But what I'm noticing is, this thing always asks me to set the date on it. I'm tired of that. Do have a red light flashing. Well, it was flashing. Unless it might have been a short cycle delay because it was running. And I took the thermostat off the wall just to see how the wiring was in it. So I wouldn't have to go back in and double check that. And it probably was in the short cycle delay. Maybe loss of power because I broke everything. I don't know. But that red light was flashing when I first took this door up. And I don't believe there's a way to go in there and check fault code history on these. No buttons or anything on it. So we'll hook up to it real quick. I'm just going to make sure the charge is good. I'm going to run it through defrost cycle. I'm going to take my meter and go inside and make sure that when I run it through a defrost cycle, the heat strips are working in defrost. Make sure they come on running auxiliary heat. She said it's been heating fine. She just noticed that her bill went up about $50. We did have a lot of nights that we typically don't have, where we were down into upper teens. And it was staying that way until late morning in a few cases, and that's not typical weather here. It was pretty mild in December, so I can see whether this is probably just going to be rather weather related, not equipment related. We're going to check it out and make sure. And she does have a new media filter in the house. I will check that. She's got a media filter on it, but she still runs the cheap old fiberglass filters in the house, which catches, she's got 2 dogs, that catches the dog hair and any large stuff, and the media filter gets the small stuff. But anyway, so we're at 106 and 353. It's 46 degrees outside. So let's see what our charging chart tells us the pressure should be. And once again, we've got the 4TWX 6030, but it's got a TEM6 air handler. There's their example on the charging chart, not the TAM air handler. If you see there, it says TEM6. That's the metal cabinet air handler. We do not install the metal cabinet Train air handlers. We put in the TAM air handlers. So it's 45 degrees outside, which is right here. And our indoor temperature is 70, which is going to be this line in the middle. So that's telling me I should be at about 350. We're at 340. And then our suction pressure at 45 degrees telling us we should be at about 105, 106. We are at 106. This line is nice and hot, like it should be. I'm gonna go in there and put my meter on the heat strips. We will make sure that we have auxiliary heating and defrost cycle. Alrighty, so I have gone under the house and I have put my heat or my field piece meter in there. I've got the 480, so it is wireless, so I can sit out here. Right now that blower is running at 2.0 amps, and I can run the defrost cycle and confirm that those heat strips come on like they're supposed to. So we're going to test the defrost. There we go. And we do have heat strips, 34 amps. So she's going to have 8 kW strips in that air handler. So it's the one thing I like about that wireless meter. You can stick it inside of an air handler, put the doors back on, get your amp draw on your blower, stick it on your heat strip, especially if it's up in the attic. You can run a defrost cycle and then sit outside and confirm whether or not your heat strips are running, rather than having to haul ass back up there to try to catch it before it shuts off. So heat strips do work. I'm gonna wait for this thing to come out of defrost, which it just did. So it went through that defrost cycle fairly quickly. I'm not seeing any frosting when it's running in heat mode on any of these tubes out here. Nothing that indicates to me that there's any kind of restriction or low refrigerant charge. So we are breaking the heat strips with this outdoor switch. I'll come back out in a minute and we'll confirm whether or not I turn the temperature up about 7-8 degrees. Thermostat should be calling for auxiliary by now, but I want to confirm that I'm getting it here. That switch is set at about 40, 45. We could probably turn it down to 40 and get her about 5 more degrees out of that heat pump. You really don't need heat strips here until you're below 40, not with these units anyway. Mine's 14 years old and my heat strips are locked out at 30 degrees. So, and I don't have a problem. And I don't have high heating bills either. 3-ton unit. I think my bill last month was $128. Heat pump. And I've got 10 kW strips in my air handler. But they don't come on until I want them on, because that unit I have performs pretty well down to some pretty cold temperatures. So anyway, let's get back under the house. I want to get a temperature rise on this heat pump by itself without the heat strips on. So she's got a pretty nice crawl space. Hot water heater there. Dehumidifier. She had the crawl space sealed a couple of years ago. But if she'd had somebody move the light over here to where the unit is. As you can see right there, we're still running in heat pump 1. That means single stage. So let's stick a temperature probe in here. There's the meter right there. See what kind of air I'm getting with the heat pump by itself. And that'll pretty much give me an indication that this thing is probably doing just fine. I just need to confirm that that outdoor switch closes like it's supposed to and does allow the heat strips to come on when she needs them. But and I tend to like to check my temperature rise a little bit further down. If you get too close to the air handler, all your air is in here swirling around, just kind of baffling in there. And you get your true mix a good 2-3 feet down. But that's close enough to let you know. So we're running about a 91 degree supply temperature, 92. You know, like I said, it just went through defrost. It may need 2 or 3 more minutes to stabilize out, but it's 40. Where are we at? 40. Yeah, we're showing 44 degrees outside right now. So that's the heat pump by itself. So we'll check this filter. Unistrut under here. It was changed last May, so it's not far from its 1 year date, but I mean it looks fine, to be honest. That filter looks good. She does, like I said, run filters in the house, in the return inside the house. Just the older, cheaper fiberglass filters, but and they're like I said, they're catching all the big stuff. So she doesn't need to do that, but sometimes you put these media filters on a system, and then you take the filter out of the return grill in the house, and you sometimes need you get a hum because the airflow is not slowing down in there at the filter anymore, it's slowing down here. So you get that air pull. Sometimes those grills will hum. You put a high velocity grill on it, something like that. So with one of these outdoor switches, you'll have a wire connected to your W1 auxiliary terminal coming off your thermostat. This gray wire and this purple wire excuse me, are in and out of this switch. So it obviously closes on temperature drop, opens on temperature rise. So we'll run the auxiliary through that, set that 45 degrees or something like that, bring it back into the thermostat, or bring it into the air handler on the black wire, and then obviously you want to tie in your black off your defrost board, so when it goes in defrost it sends that voltage back in there. So we know that circuit's good because it worked in defrost cycle. I just need to see if my thermostat is calling for heat strips right now. So as you can see on the meter there at the bottom, we are getting 24 volts from our thermostat for auxiliary. So the thermostat is calling for auxiliary. Now I can jump that together and complete that circuit and make sure they come on, but I already know that circuit's good. I want to make sure this switch works like it's supposed to. So I'm going to try to turn this thing up to higher to get it to close, or to get it to open, or to get it to close. It's open right now. It'll close when it gets below 40, but I want to turn that threshold up. I don't know if it'll go much higher. Alright guys, so I was able to get that switch to close, complete that circuit. We've got heat strips. As you can see what it does here, it'll show you heat pump 1 when your auxiliary calls. It'll tell you plus electric heat, then 1, 2, or 3 squares depending on how many stages of heating you have. Here we have two relays, 2 stages, 33 amps, and we have a supply total of 111. And just out of curiosity, I mean that's about an 18 degree rise. I'm going to go down to the end of the plenum, and then I'm going to catch this one coming right off the end and see if it's any higher than 111. Just curious. 11, 12, 15, right there, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that's why I'm doing this, to explain. If you check your supply temperatures right up against the end of the air handler, you're gonna read a lower temperature, because you're where all that air is swirling around down here and mixing. and you really want to check further downstream to get an accurate supply temperature. So just by going from here to the end of the plenum, it was 13 degrees warmer. So think about that. If you think your temperature split's a little low, just go down to plenum about another 2 or 3 feet. Check it where that air, now it's in a steady stream of flow, and you're probably going to get a more accurate supply temperature. And I'm going to get that wire off the edge of that metal. That thing's just resting right up on top of that plate right there. I'm going to have a rub through short one day. Alright guys, like, subscribe, appreciate you watching. Have a good one.